All right, welcome back everybody to another stock market outlook video brought to you by Deepvue. This is my daily driver for screening, charting, watchlist management, alerts, the works. We've got a lot of innovative features such as, of course, the performance charts, bubble charts, heat maps, everything is customizable. Highly recommend checking out. We've got a special offer 2 months for $39. The link to that is down below in the description as well as popping up right now. And we just released actually today the screener module on the mobile app. So now you can use the innovative swipe charts feature to scroll up and down through charts effortlessly, while you're out for a walk, while you're waiting for food, what have you. You can do, everything you can do on the desktop in terms of screening, finding ideas on the go super, super easily. So highly recommend check it out. And with that said, let's go ahead and dive right in to the video. As always, we're going to cover the market indexes, leading stocks, key themes, rotation, all of that. So let's start with the bigger picture, the market indexes. So first, taking a step back, we've been in a longer term uptrend. We're now in a basing period, consolidation period, where most recently we had a little bit of a changing character here, where we pushed higher, reclaimed that 21 EMA. That for me starts a new short-term uptrend. We've been in that now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 days now. And we're testing this prior pivot. We're above all the moving averages. The 50-day is still declining, but overall things are looking pretty good to the upside. We had this nice positive expectation breaker, good upside reversal to end off to this week. And looks like things, my bias at least is, towards higher prices, at least in the short term. We'll of course have to see what comes next, what comes next week. Every day brings us new information, but right now my leaning is to be bullish, and things have been working. Leaders have been breaking out pretty much every single day, trending nicely as we'll go through later on in this video. And things are looking pretty good. Also, just taking a look at the QQQE equal weight. This also looks pretty strong. Good upside reversal here. You've got that same pivot right in this area. So if we can fall through to the upside, push higher towards these previous highs, I think that'd be a very positive sign. We're trending above a rising 10 and 21 EMA. When that's the case, things are usually pretty good for swing and position trading. And right now, the short-term expectation based on the recent action is maybe some more consolidation, build out this handle a little bit, or just continuation up. We'll see what comes next week, as I mentioned. Looking at the IWM, the small caps, these have been actually a little bit stronger, in the very short term, a little bit weaker of a close today in the very short term, but we're at that same kind of pivot, forming a little bit of short-term flag, basically double inside days, at least in spirit the past 2 days. And we'll see if we can find support maybe, around the 10 EMA, or this just kind of builds out a little bit more or rallies next week back through this pivot. But overall, in terms of almost all the major indexes, we're above the moving averages. And, we're just still kind of in this consolidation period. No super clear trend yet, but in the short-term sense, above the 21 EMA, we are in an uptrend. Looking at the mega caps, Amazon closed really nicely, to end out this week. Great close here. Google, also a decent close, 89%. In terms of the closing range here, these Apple, Meta, a little bit weaker, especially Apple here. It looked like in the last 5 minutes, things really took off to the downside, especially volume coming in. So we'll see what happens next week. We are a little bit short-term stretch, but, a retest of these moving averages would be completely normal. But, this type of downside reversal usually comes with a little bit of short-term weakness, and we're at a key level where it makes sense to see a little bit of resistance. You've got this gap here that we're still dealing with, so we'll have to see what happens next week. Moving on to the themes, let's go ahead and bring up the performance charts. So basically, I've got the thematic ETFs, a list of about 50 ETFs that represent different areas of the market. And right now, we're doing percent change from the open. So today, blockchain was the strongest, hack was the strongest ETF, or second strongest. We'll take a look at CrowdStrike, FTNT later on in this video. Definitely some interest there. And you can see, how things fared since the open. I also like at the end of the week to go ahead and change this to 5 days to see basically what was strongest this week. And we've got some energy names, oil and gas, uranium, double small caps, IBIT also strong. You can see the chart down here, and you can also spacebar through this, which is super awesome. I love these performance charts. They're fantastic, and this gives a great sense of kind of what's happening, where's the money flowing, what's the rotation in the markets. And we've definitely seen that towards the energy names. We had some big breakouts, CEG, VST today, NRG as well. Super strong. That's NRG, not energy, though energy has been strong as a theme. You can also see and do the same thing with the sector ETS. I've got basically a watch list here set up with that. And basically, if you're not familiar with this tool, basically you can choose any screen, any watch list preset, and plot them on this graph. So this is plotting the Deepvue leaders. You can scroll up and down, but it's super customizable, as is our goal with every feature here in the Deepvue platform. And as I mentioned, you can spacebar through and see the charts down here. This is linked to this. You can always select, different groups here. So there's a lot of customizability built in to these features. Bringing up the bubble charts, this is another way to visualize the markets that also is super cool. And I thought of this idea, so I think it's pretty awesome. We basically allow you to plot data based on any two data points that you select. You select an X data point, Y-axis data point, and then a third data point that controls the size of the circle. So I like doing this, especially in the morning. Relative volume, price percent change from the open, and then the circle is also controlled by relative volume. So the stocks that are moving on the biggest volume are going to be the biggest circles. When they're pushing the strongest from the open, they're going to be further, to the sky here, further high up. And then if they also have high relative volume, they're going to be over here on the right. So the strongest names off the open, and this allows you to find breakouts very early on in the morning, are going to be in the top right of your screen. You see VST, there, CEG here, CrowdStrike, another name that pushed really hard. And basically it plots all your data points from, again, you can choose a screen, you can choose a watch list. This is super cool. And if you X out, it's just the S&P 500. And you can also click to zoom into a specific area, and that kind of rescales things for you. So if you want to dive into some specific outliers, you can do that. But I personally like leaving it on the Deepvue leader screen and just seeing like this. You can also zoom in and out using this, reset it using that. And this is just a great way to spot early morning movers. And I've seen some really cool setups like this where you can plot relative strength on a 3-month basis, then earnings growth last quarter, so you can see the stocks that were strong price wise as well as earnings growth wise, laid out visually. And basically, all things considered, the bubble charts just allow you to spot outlier stocks easier, and that's what we're trying to find. Outlier stocks that are showing specific strength, extreme strength in terms of price, fundamentals, whatever it is. This bubble charts really helps you sort through the noise and find those names, and everything's clickable. So again, you can go through and take a look at the breakouts today that are going to be in the top right. And CEG, VST really stood out here. You've got these down here, which had high volume, but not so much price percent change. You can see this is the zero line here. So all of these up here had strong days. IoT definitely had a nice day. ALAB, I've noticed this young IPO pushing up off the bottom here. And TEM as well, forming a range, but very powerful. I saw it earlier in the day, right near the 21 EMA. It's now pushed and closed right near the high of the previous day, still below this pivot. Ideally, you get some type of inside day, which allows you to manage risk a little bit tighter. But this, young IPO, these can really move. This one moved, I believe, 80% in just 6 days. So this is a fast mover, more of a swing trade type name, but definitely a name to watch overall. SG has had a nice move. Powell, along with the energy theme here. So there's a lot to be watching here. Lastly, I want to talk about the heat map here with the S&P 500, where again, this is fully customizable. We're controlling the data based on price percent change from the open. The size of the squares based on the relative volume. You can change this to market cap, which is kind of the standard way to view things, but I think it's more telling to use relative volume, since I'm not always super focused on the big caps. But you can see CrowdStrike, the strongest, moving off the bottom, CEG again, STLD, and you can just kind of glaze over this and see what themes are strongest, what themes were moving together either to the upside or downside. You can really see electric utilities stood out, and utilities in general much more blue than, you know, other sectors in here. And there's another way to kind of identify rotation in Deepvue, which is super, super cool. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right into, well, actually, just first things first, energy is definitely a theme I'm watching. Software in terms of the growth space is something I'm watching. Semiconductors, I'm still definitely keeping an eye on. They haven't been as strong of late, but they have been a leading group over the past 2 years. And, you know, leading groups tend to continue to lead. So I'll be still watching them, of course, and we'll take a look at NVIDIA in pretty much just a second. So let's go ahead and dive right into some key stocks. And I'll actually, just to kind of show my additional notes, I'll show the stocks in my daily newsletter. It's completely free that I post. The link is down below in the description. You can sign up for free. And I cover the same thing I do in these weekly videos, but every single day, key indexes, themes, rotation, heat maps, and the key stocks that I'm watching every single day. So you can follow along with me. You just have to kind of enter your email. I believe it's up here. Yeah, just enter your email in here and you can go ahead and subscribe. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We've got NVIDIA forming this range here. You can see we had a positive expectation breaker on this bar right here, pulled back into the moving averages today as well, kind of the low area of this range. So we'll look to see some response next week. Not the best close, but we'll wait and see what happens. This is more of a later stage base. So not, you know, saying it's going to go up another 4,000% or whatever it has from the lows. I think like 2000 or I forget what it was. But anyway, this still can be a really good mover, but we'll have to, you know, show some strength here, break out of this pivot before it, you know, challenges those all-time highs. Amazon, I already mentioned, really good close. Apple, very negative close to end out the day. CAVA, really nice, you know, push through these highs. It's just been grinding above the 10 EMA, not really making, you know, huge moves and following through, but more just kind of grinding higher. It's definitely a name worth watching. SG in that same theme has been acting well. CEG, we've already mentioned a few times. Monster Breakout, they announced a partnership with Microsoft to service and provide energy for their data centers. Yeah, this also led to VST acting super strong, but CEG definitely has the more volume and you know, broke out to new highs versus this is still really strong, but is, you know, still basically in that base, just a little bit higher than those base highs. TM we've covered, forming a range here. CrowdStrike, this is pretty interesting. It's now back above the anchored VWAP from the day where the earth stood still because of CrowdStrike failing. You know, things are acting well. We had these two tight ranges. RMV highlighted them really nicely. RMV, basically relative measure volatility, when it goes to 0 or near 0 or severely drops, it basically means that we're forming a short-term range, and often that's tradable, and often this goes to 0 right before a nice entry point. So we had that here. We had that one more time here. We had a gap up and then very strong push higher through this pivot. We've now got the 200-day to deal with here. But we'll have to see what happens with this name. A lot of people wrote this off. We had a big reversal here, move up, and now just kind of a basing period forming here. And we'll see if we can fill in these gaps and see what happens. But definitely short term, in the very short term, in a strong trend. And we'll see if we can kind of heal this overall chart pattern. ALAB, and actually let's take a look at what CrowdStrike, because I'm curious, what does Crowd look like on a weekly? I want to bring that up. So let's go and bring that up. Let's go to a weekly chart here. Rescale. So yeah, very sharp decline here, but reclaiming that 21 EMA, you know, longer term, you know, this level is also those previous highs. So that's another reason where it's at right now is pretty critical. But, you know, if we can heal this base, we might see a longer term consolidation, longer term VCP. But, you know, looking at the earnings and sales, it is declining a little bit. Growth is slowing. But, you know, I don't think that one day changed everybody's need for cybersecurity, which I know is a growing field, you know, and industry. So we'll have to see what happens overall. ALAB pushing off the bottom. I already talked about this. Toast looks pretty strong. And let's bring up Toast on the weekly chart here. You can see it's at this big weekly level. This weekly looks fantastic and is right near these highs. And yeah, there's not much to say. I mean, this is pretty picture perfect, and we'll see if we can push higher. Annual estimates are huge for this year and the next year. Really nice growth numbers, 40%, 50%, 200% for this year. So that looks great. And, you know, I see this everywhere as kind of point of sale metrics as well. So it's good to see that. Reddit, this is another name pushing really nicely this week. Let's bring this up on the weekly as well. And let me know if you like this format where I kind of show the dailies that I have a little bit of additional written commentary on by showing the newsletter, as well as going to the weeklies here, which are really important to study as well. We had a nice range form RMV on the weekly chart, actually shows that really nicely. We're above the anchor view out from highs and pushing strongly off the lows. So definitely a name to be focused on pullbacks. This is a young name, a lot of total addressable market. And, you know, social media stocks in the past have had an amazing moves. Pins has been a nice name for me back in 2020, not so much anymore. Meta has been a monster winner. You know, Twitter, not so much, but, you know, just, you know, the proof is in the pudding that these can be great stocks. So keep an eye on this young name. Moving on, KVO, really nice push again. Short-term flag, 2 daily, basically inside bars to end out last week. Let's bring up KVO on the weekly as well. And you can see it's just pushing from this weekly level. This bar should have been a tell if you're watching, you know, any weekly charts. You know, this is huge. So yeah, just nothing much to say. Really strong action. LNTH, this one's tightening up. This is the previous all-time highs level, so we're forming a nice base right above all-time highs. Inside day to end out last week. I'll click that to make it a little bit bigger. FTNT, same space as crowd, nice gap up, now compressing against the 21 EMA, pushing higher to end out this week. PLTR, really nice action. Up oops reversal. I believe there was some news about insider selling today, but just kind of ate it up and closed strong. And on the weekly, this is another one that's really beautiful. Let's go over to, we are on a weekly chart. So it's had, of course, this huge IPO move, and now this might be an all-time closing high, actually. So a monster trend it's been on, really nice action. Again, this type of bar is a tell, and we fall through higher nicely as well. Oscar, this is an insurance name that can trend nicely. Nice move from this power move off kind of the base lows here, and now just watching for a handle. I think I say that right here. Roblox, again, really nice action, compressing a little bit, just kind of grinding higher, but we're also at a big weekly level if we bring up Deepvue. And you can see very similar to Toast, actually. You know, we're at this very clear line of resistance, and we'll have to see if we can push through, ideally on big volume, and start a stage 2 uptrend. PRCT inside day, this is more of a swing trade type name, swing trade type setup, high fast mover. NVAX as well. This one can have some amazing moves from ranges, and it's forming another one right now. And Tesla, we had a little bit of give back here after yesterday's breakout. We'll see if this holds, continues higher, or, you know, fails and decides to base a little bit more. IBIT, let's bring this one up on the weekly. You can see this longer term flag it's been forming, and now testing this pivot right here. So we'll see if this can push higher and you know, start a new really strong trend like Bitcoin has been able to do in the past. ASTS, this one broke below the range today. We'll see if it needs a little bit more time. This is you know, later in the trend as well. But this has had a really monster move, and we'll just have to see what happens. It's the first time really where it's lived below the 21 EMA for an extended period. So we'll see if we get a quick snapback or a retest of this prior, you know, low, as well as, you know, this level here, the 50-day, and just wait and see what happens. But again, RMV going to 0 means there's expansion coming either to the upside or downside. In this case, we got it to the downside. NRG, again, energy name. A really strong move. This is on the watch list that my newsletter the day prior. So super strong action, and I found it because I always search RMV 0 stocks, and this is one that can really trend nicely when it is trending. And right now, this is the first, I think, major base in its move. So that's pretty much it in terms of key stocks I want to mention today. Let me know your thoughts on these names. Let me know what you're watching currently. Give me 1 or 2 stocks. If you like my take on any stock, let me know down below. I'll try to do my best to answer it. And let me know your thoughts on the market as well. Where do you think we go? Do you think we have a strong end to this year? Of course, we've got the election coming up. That will be Interesting. I'm sure it'll shake things up quite a bit. But overall, again, everything comes down to price action, trends, managing risk. Those are the secrets. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, let me know down below in the comment section. Let me know what you think about me going through, the charts like this, where there's a little bit extra written commentary. I can go through kind of more names faster. And then I can also kind of show you the weekly charts at the same time in Deepvue in the app right there. So let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care. Bye.